So this is a dialogue today. We have poured out our hearts and souls, and look at those words written hundreds of years ago. Who is not saying those words right now? The dialogue is about that we cry out for peace, for God, for spiritual guidance, for a way in this dark world. And what does the Christmas story tell us happens during that dark night? A new leader who will guide us and teach us a way of peace within to bring peace without comes into the world. So the dialogue is that we have expressed our longing, and now heaven expresses its presence. Here we go. This was a favorite hymn that was asked for. And this one, Anthony, you can take it. The shepherds could not leave their flocks on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day. They had to remain up in the high mountains doing their important work. But they wanted to send greetings to each other, a dialogue, a conversation with the shepherds on the other hills. And as it turns out, because vowels carry the people down in villages. So the Gloria is what the shepherds would sing to each other and to the people in the hills. You can hear how it carries, can't you, the vowels? So we're going to sing our final verse. I think I didn't give you a Gloria. You all know it. And we're going to sing to the far hills. Here we go. Sorry, Anthony, Michael, go ahead. Oh, there it is. To the darkness. Here we go. This is our opening prayer for Advent. God, by whatever name we know you, and however we experience you in our individual lives, as we walk together through this Advent season, help us to travel our road with the faith of Mary and Joseph, proclaim hope to the world with the joy of the angels, and keep our hearts open to the miracles with the wonders of the shepherds, so that all we meet will feel your presence in this season. And together, our love will transform the world. We're going to do a passing of the peace. It's short today. I say the peace of God be with you. You call back and also with you. Does anyone not have a dove? I ask at this moment. Matt, do we have more doves? Are we doveless or are we still doves? We got 2 doves. Put up your hands for 2 doves. There we go. If you didn't get a dove and there's someone near that you did, share their dove. Right on back. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So let's do the passing of peace. The peace of God be with you.
And also with you.
Turn to your neighbors. Say hi to the people who are traveling with you spiritually today.
People behind.
And then you guys can be seated. Next Saturday, this entire sanctuary is going to be filled with kids and parents. It is our annual Christmas party that we put on with the BIA, the Local Business Improvement Association. It has become a beloved community tradition. There are kids throwing paper airplanes off the balcony. There are craft tables set up. Adam, who owns Guardian Pharmacy, is our Santa this year. Mac is an elf. We have face painting. We have a magician. We have our famous indoor snowball fight. We have the West End Community Choir. We have a youth choir. It is just amazing. If you have a little person in your life, bring them. It's super fun and it's all free. If you don't have a little person in your life, come anyway. Seriously, it is just a wonderful time. At about 5:30, just before, we all troop outside. There will be 2 Christmas trees outside that will be lighting up. And as I say, it has become such a huge community event, okay, that when we do it now, we have had to requisition metal barriers for the street because we have become worried that people are spilling out onto the street and they're going to get killed, which would take away, we believe, from the effect of the event. So, anyway, we don't want to find that out. So please come next Saturday. It is super, super, super fun. Next week, we will have the West End Community Choir here. The first time they sang outside on the steps for the tree lighting, you may know, Taylor, the leader, said to me, "Can you come stand with me, Anne, because it'll make us look like we're more people." There were about 10 of them. There are now 125. They are singing in church next Sunday. They rehearse here during the week, as you know. And it's glorious. It's just absolutely glorious what they do. So be here next Sunday for them. We are also doing our re-gift table. What is a re-gift? A re-gift are these things which may have been in my closet all year, which I'm never going to use, okay? Right? Super lovely, thoughtful gifts that I have no use for. So bring them in next Sunday morning, and thanks to Debbie and Annie and Lori, they're going to set them up at the back, and you can buy them. Give them to someone else. Your shopping is done. You can pay cash, you can tap. Got it? So that's next Sunday. We want your stuff. Here we go. If you are baking for Christmas, share it with our Kindred Kitchen. They would love to have it downstairs. And now Lori McIntyre is going to do Are You Seeing Me?
Randall asked me if I would speak for a couple of minutes about why I come to Roncesvalles United. Okay.
You guys tell me when you can hear Lori, because she's always really good.
Okay. A few weeks ago, Randall asked me if I would speak for a couple of minutes about why I come to Roncesvalles United. Well, the social interactions I get from coming here are important to me. Most Sundays, I meet Debbie on the platform at the subway station and we travel over together. It's fun to meet a friend. Entering the main doors on Roncesvalles, it's nice to be greeted with smiling faces. I feel peaceful in the sanctuary, and on those mornings when the sun streams through the stained glass or Anthony is playing the piano, it is magical. Reverend Anne's reflection, which she does without notes, helps me to look at things in a different light and approach life in a different way. The piano, the musical guests, and singing the gathering songs raises my spirits. And if the gathering songs have actions, that's even better. I might feel a spark of the joy, the warmth, and the kindness I experienced years ago in Sunday school at Divine Street United Church in Sarnia. Learning the Bible stories, singing songs like Jesus Loved Me, and involving myself in the mission work we supported were foundational for my life. Here at RUC, I have a similar feeling. Here, I'm part of something bigger than myself. Part of a community of people trying to make the world a better place. A film I recently saw called Beethoven's Nine, Ode to Humanity, portrayed a shared humanity. I learned much from this film. Beethoven's Nine was the first symphony that had lyrics. Beethoven chose the Friedrich Schiller poem Ode to Joy and set it to a tune that he considered was singable by all. In the 200 years since it was first performed in Vienna, it's become an international anthem for freedom. Gemma Simeonov wrote in the Globe and Mail, Beethoven's Ninth has a mysterious power to offer relief for all of humanity's problems, no matter where, no matter when. Perhaps Roncesvalles United is my ode to humanity, and Anthony has kindly agreed to play Ode to Joy. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good morning. How are you on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 is high, 1 is low, just shout it out. Okay, some of you don't even know. You're not even like, no idea. That's okay. I'm really nice to see you. It's always fun to come to the front and see you all. So again, good morning. Listen, you know what Lori does, what Lori chose to do, you know, when I asked Lori to just speak for a couple minutes, there was no hesitation, right? There's just this yes. And I want to chat a bit about today's. One of the things I'm aware of is how much Roncesvalles United loves the world, right? The actions, the things that we do in the community. And as I joined the board this year, very happily actually, it's been quite a learning curve, but one of the things I've discovered is how much people give to Roncesvalles United in their time, their talent, their experience. If you come here any weeknight, you see Roncesvalles United people, you see people after the service today helping out with the lunch that we do. You see people contributing both financial, both time, resources, talent. We see people setting up groups, play music together. There's a lot happening that you may not actually see how people give to this community. What's really meaningful for me is exactly that. Is somehow, even just showing up here today, you made a choice to be here. I don't know if you know this, you might be getting something from being here, but you are giving something from being here. And it is deeply appreciated by me that I get a chance to come here. You know, I race here from playing soccer, and I'm in this whole soccer mode, and I get here and go, how lucky am I that I've got a place where I can not just think about myself and scoring goals, because I do score goals sometimes, but I actually have an avenue of expression around how I can love the world. I have Roncesvalles United. And I don't know if everybody has this in their life. I am super grateful that I have it. With that in mind, you know, as we come into Advent season, it's really an opportunity to reflect personally, reflect communally. And one of the goals that we've set for the Advent season is a financial goal of $5,000. And one of the things from my own reflection, you know, in addition to PAR, do you know what PAR is? Who knows what PAR is? If you don't, talk to Joan. But, you know, regular giving each month. And now we've set this goal this year, and I said to myself, you know, what can I do? What can I do? Certainly, I have a commitment to show up on a certain number of Sundays every year, which is 35. Show up 35 Sundays. Yeah, join me. The other piece is the financial commitment. So, with our goal of $5,000, I'm here to invite you to join me in whatever way is comfortable for you, financially, or your time, or your talent. Get involved. You being here is a big piece of this. I've decided to contribute $500 to the $5,000 goal, and I invite you also to think about your own contribution. Again, PAR is regular giving each month. And Advent season is a chance to kind of focus on that, to do a little bit of self-reflection and say, okay, how can I contribute? Not just how do we love the outside world, but what do we add to this? And my invite is why not come together with this? Come together, do a reset, a restart, whatever it is for you, and think about the action about how you love the world and how you are part of Roncesvalles United, because it is deeply appreciated that you are here. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Randall. For the record, I feel lucky every Sunday I come here too. The Advent candle is, of course, a tradition of this season. Every Sunday, we light one more candle until the Christ candle is lit on Sunday, Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, there you go. Can I get, Bettina, I'm looking at you. Do you want to come up and light the candle? We're going to stand and we're going to sing together our Advent song. We sing one verse every week, we add another one, and then I'm going to invite you to come up after we finish singing and put your prayer on the tree for the Advent season. Take it away. Okay. We're going to put our doves on the tree. Come on forward. Hi to everyone who's watching online. I was thinking this morning as I entered the church and I ran downstairs to drop off some stuff to the many, many, many people who are setting up for the meal program and who are cooking. If you don't know, we have a big meal program in this church. At 12 o'clock today, people are going to start coming through that door, and at 1 o'clock, they're going to be fed a beautiful meal. A choice of 3. You get a choice of 3 things. I think today it is Swedish meatballs with mashed potatoes and green salad and I don't know what else, but it's always gorgeous. And there's always a vegetarian option because we have guests who are either choose to be vegetarian or it's a religious restriction for them. So down I ran to the kitchen and people were busy and laughing and singing Christmas carols to the radio. And I just had to pause for a moment. And my mind went right back to last June. Last June, Maria, who had been our meal program director for many years, ended her tenure. And last June, I sat down with Carolyn, the new meal director, and Steph, our head chef, to talk about how we were going to carry on. I mean, Maria had been a big fixture of that program. And what started to come up almost immediately was how inadequate we feel generally to meet the needs of the people who come to us. They are housed or marginally housed. They are desperately lonely, some of them. Some of them now increasingly are low-income seniors who are having trouble making ends meet. As we talked about the issues that some of our meal guests, many of our meal guests face, the problem just seemed too big for us. And I could feel us all getting slowly paralyzed. You know that one? You get the diagnosis. The relationship you thought was going to last forever ends. You get fired from the job, or you lose the contract and don't know where the next one's coming from. The way that you thought things would happen just doesn't happen, and it's so easy to get overwhelmed. Or you look at the state of the world. A friend of mine said the other day, wow, we're having crazy weather. And the other friend I was with, who's a scientist, said, no, we're having exactly the weather we're supposed to be having given what we've been doing. We look at so many pieces of the world, and it is so easy to feel like this is just too big and overwhelming and to feel paralyzed. That's understandable. And that's where we were last June in that first gathering. How do we meet a need that is too big for us to meet? When we have difficult times, in every place, in every culture, people go back to their sacred stories. You don't have to be religious to do that. You don't even have to belong to a faith group to do that. People go back to sacred story all the time. Sometimes we go back to sacred stories that are lived out in brand new ways, so we don't even know it's a sacred story. Star Wars is David and Goliath, retold for a new generation and a new time. Talked about the first 3. I don't know what the ones after that were. We find that we look for story to give us wisdom and guidance that's going to help us go further. I love to read biographies because biographies show me that often people who live exceptional lives did not expect to do so, but found something in their circumstances or themselves that brought them into the world in a new and deeply meaningful way. We visit sacred stories so that we can remember we've been here before. Generations before us have been here before. Perhaps not with exactly the problems or the situations that are confronting us, but with the same sense of this is too big, this is overwhelming, we can't possibly make a difference here. The sacred stories that teach us, if you're a member of the Christian church, are the stories from this thing called the Bible. They're not the only stories we use, and they shouldn't be the only stories they use. But when we reach into those stories, we often see that there's a reason why they have lasted so long. And it's not just because we were told by our Sunday school teachers that if we didn't learn them, we're going to hell. Actually, my Sunday school teacher in my church, you were going to hell regardless. So I was never sure what the point was. And the sacred stories we reach into for Advent, of course, are largely the stories from the book of Luke. Okay, book of Luke, written by a Gentile, written many years after Jesus died, but that's where we get the precious stories, like the one Linus gives us in the Charlie Brown special. The sacred story for the beginning of Advent is usually the beginning of the Advent story. The angel comes and visits Mary, right? Mary is a young girl. It does not say that Mary was a virgin, sorry. People quit seminary, who weren't even Catholic, because when we translated it, and they found out Mary was just a young girl, not a virgin, they couldn't cope. I don't know. Anyway, Mary is a young girl. The idea is that she is vulnerable, okay? She is vulnerable. She is one of the most vulnerable of society. And God visits her, the angel visits her with this message from God, saying that she's about to bring forth a child who's going to save these oppressed people she lives with. These people who are living under the Roman Empire, who are living in dark, dark times, who are suffering. Her child's going to save them. My first thought was, and how do I parent that child? Like, is it swimming lessons? Or, is it Kumon? I don't know. I need to know. Like, she is being given this overwhelming task that she is in no way prepared to deal with. No way prepared to deal with. At all. And that's kind of, so I look at myself as Mary back in June. I look at us now as Mary. We feel helpless. We feel unequal to this big task. We don't think that we're the ones that are supposed to be making a difference here, right? We certainly don't know how to go about it. We wonder if it's all too much, and we often feel paralyzed. And what do? We go to the sacred story of Mary, and we talk about George Clooney. Yes, we do. Back in the day, George Clooney was a struggling actor in Hollywood. He felt in his heart and his soul that acting was what he was meant to do. He believed he was a storyteller. He got turned down interview after audition, after interview, after audition, after audition, after audition, after audition, after audition. It's hard for us to remember that now, isn't it, having seen his career, right? He was getting no work whatsoever. He felt himself paralyzed. Paralyzed. Now, the story goes that a friend of his happened to be studying at the University of Santa Barbara and happened to be studying the Stoics. Okay, the Stoics were these group of philosophers in 170 AD down in Greece. And his friend said, you know what the Stoics would tell you to do? If you think that there is nothing you can do, if you are paralyzed by the situation and it's too big, remember, there's always going to be one thing. There's always going to be one thing you can do. I mean, if you're a spiritual person, the one thing is always that you can pray. You can turn it over to God. That's a good thing to do. It actually makes a difference. But his friend said, so what is the one thing you can do when you go into an audition? And George Clooney thought this over, and he came up with something, and he went into the next audition, and this is what he brought with him. Instead of thinking, I need you to hire me, give me something, okay, thank you, he thought, these people have a problem to solve. They need somebody to play this part. They need someone to bring their vision to the screen. I'm going to be the person that solves their problem. He went into the audition and started talking to them and saying, what is your vision here? Not, here's my piece, please hire me. But what are you seeing? How can I help you? How can I make this happen for you? Let's talk about this, and I'm your guy, because I'm here to serve you. And lo and behold, he became the guy everybody wanted to hire, because they knew that whatever they needed, George was going to ask them about it and bring it. And look at the career he had. He went from being paralyzed to simply thinking, what is one thing I can do? And for him, it was change how I see the whole audition experience. So what does that mean about Mary? And what did that mean about me, paralyzed in that meeting about meal program, thinking, come September, with all of those people who we care about, who have issues and problems and needs, how do we solve them? I feel paralyzed. Well, what a wonderful sacred story it is about Mary, because Mary, who felt, needless to say, overwhelmed. It was too much. Why me? No way. did the one thing that she could do. She put her trust in the God that has given her that great mission. She said, God, if this is what I am called to do, I'm in. She did the one thing she could do in that moment, which was simply to say, I am willing. I'm saying yes. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time complaining and kvetching and saying it's not okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time railing about how someone else should do this, complaining about why it shouldn't be me. I'm not going to do that. And that's exactly what the Stoics told through the friend George Clooney. You can either focus on all of the ways this isn't possible, or you can focus on the one thing you can do. And what could Mary do? She could place herself in the hands of the God that knew her and her destiny and her capabilities better than she knew herself. And what a beautiful story it becomes. And building on that, she said, and I can go visit my cousin Elizabeth, who's going to remind me that having a child under any circumstances is a wonderful thing. So there I am in June. And I was actually thinking, how do we help these people that come to us who are tired, who are lonely, who are sad, who need so much more than a meal, and we can't give them everything? And the thing that we suddenly thought was, instead of having them stand in a buffet line like they do here, and that they stand in lines all week, why don't we serve them at the table? We can't solve all of their problems, but for 1 hour every Sunday, we can make them feel like they're in a restaurant. We can make them feel like they have value. We can make them feel like they matter. We can make them feel like they're having an experience everyone else has that often we take for granted. We can have menu items to choose from. We can have someone at the door greeting them as they come in and saying how glad we are that they're here. We can do a welcome, and they can sit when they come. We can open an hour early. They can come and have coffee and more time to relax and sit and be and know that they matter. That was one small thing. Why don't we serve at table? And it has changed everything. Several of you know, I'm looking around, that if you go downstairs today at 12 o'clock, you'll see people coming in and sitting down for coffee, and no, all of their problems are not solved, but for this next hour, they're just relaxing. They're talking to friends. They're being smiled at by volunteers. And it changes them. And it changes us. And when 1 o'clock is going to start, and oh my gosh, the volunteers bustle, and people hold up the card to show us what menu item they want, and we are over there with their meatballs, we are over there with their baked chicken, we're over there with their vegetarian, we're putting down the plate and saying thank you for coming, we're going around with fruit, there's always dessert, and people can sit there and relax and feel the joy and the pleasure of being valued and having someone else serve you. And we can't solve all the problems of the world. But my gosh, that one thing, that serve at table, has helped us change things for everyone who comes through our doors on Sunday afternoon. It is the truth of the world that we have been here before. We have had trials as humanity. We have had trials personally. And it is the truth of the world that there is always, always one thing we can do if we look for it. If we don't focus on all of the impossibilities and all of the darkness and all of the things we didn't choose and all of the things we don't want, and we simply say, I can do this. I can do this one thing. I can serve this meal. I can hand it over again to God. I can ask to have my perception of how I am interacting in the world change. I can do one thing. It's amazing how the helplessness drops away. The paralyzed becomes a thing of the past. And hope becomes more than just an emotion that we bring in when nothing else is there. Hope becomes the way we operate in the world as we look and commit ourselves to whatever that one thing is that we can do. So how wonderful that Advent begins with hope. How wonderful that it begins the story of Mary, overwhelmed, perhaps paralyzed, saying, the one thing I can do is trust that if God has given me this mission, I'll be given the way to carry it out. How wonderful that for our meal program, we were told the one thing we can do is actually going to lead to a more beautiful experience for everyone How wonderful that someone like George Clooney changed his perception, and that becomes part of the stories that can inspire us. What is the one thing you can do? Focus on that. Make that your mission. The darkness is there and we acknowledge it, but that one thing we can do is like the star above the Bethlehem stable. It's the thing we follow. It's the thing that guides us. It's the one thing we can do that brings light to the world. Thanks be to God. We're going to take a moment for silent reflection.
Source of love, source of life, God, by whatever name we call you and however we experience you in our individual lives, here are the prayers of the people today. In this, the first week of Advent, as we turn our attention to hope, help us to embody what it means to be hopeful, to have the strength needed to wait patiently for that star to shine brightly in the dark night. For Adrian, may you feel held in love while you find your way forward. For Caroline, for healing. For Brenda, as she deals with health issues. For Sarah, for protection as she hikes through Patagonia. For Rosetta, for strength as she navigates her health journey. For Barbara, for health, strength, and comfort. For Peter, Margaret, and David, for health. For Simon, for comfort after the loss of his sister. For everything and everyone who we've placed on our doves and hold in our hearts, we make these prayers confident that your love endures in all lives, now and forever. Amen.
We're going to end with another carol. This is one that we started singing last year, and it's perfect for the season of hope. Is my mic on, Jennifer? Jennifer, is my mic on? Oh, is it? Okay, it's just me. It's perfect for this Sunday about hope. It's written by this woman, Eleanor Farjeon, and I will give
time is near.
Well, that's the chorus. That's the chorus. Sorry.
What is one song that you can do? Here we go.
People, look, here's the time is near of the crowning of the year. Make your house here as you are able. Trim the hearth and set the table. People, look east and sing today. Love the guest who's on the way. Earth begun, the world is there. One more seed is meant to bear. Give up your strength, the seed to nourish, that in the course of farm may flourish. People look east and sing today. Now the rose is on the way. All the seeds to give, God the best that must be filled. Even the hour winds are frozen, gods are virgin, time has chosen. People look east and sing today. Love the bird is on the way. Love's earth is here, one more night can gold shall bring. Shining beyond the frosty weather, bright as sun and moon together. People look east and sing today. Love the star is on the way.
That was absolutely fantastic, okay? I grew up in a Baptist church where they tried to sing this and the whole thing fell apart and several people left, so we did well. So I sing these ancient words. Go out into the world, because the world is waiting for you. Find that one thing, and God will guide your path. And may the love of God, the grace of our guide, Jesus Christ, and the fellowship and communion of the Holy Spirit rest and abide upon us, everyone, now and forevermore. Amen. We're going to sing a closing Advent song. Lots of singing today. And you know this tune.